Hey everyone, my name is Randy Lee and I'm an environmental engineer. We need to talk about the future. Not about my life specifically or your life or about how to get into some environmental engineering related role. As cliche as it sounds, it's about the fate of this world. This video is going to sound sort of like a doom and gloom kind of midlife crisis rant. So prepare yourself for what I'm about to say and just hear me out with some skepticism in the back of your mind. In this video, I'll be talking about the recent news of Hurricane Milton hitting Florida as of October 2024. So for those who are not in the United States, here's the gist of what's happening. So it's basically hurricane season in the United States, which usually starts between July and ends around November. Just like some countries near large ocean bodies, natural disasters happen and are seasonal. Hurricanes occur naturally and it's beyond our human control because that's just what, Mother Nature does. However, the good thing about hurricane season is that it's predictable. We know when it roughly begins and when it roughly ends. And even though we can't essentially stop the event from occurring and like stopping a hurricane in the middle of the ocean, we can at least prepare for the impact. And to me, that sounds a lot better than just taking the hit and dealing with the death and consequences. At least we have some form of preparation and control of the results. And here's now where I can tell it's going to bring up a lot of political and scientific argument. That's where climate change comes into play. I think many people can agree that hurricanes occur naturally and will cause destruction and damage when it hits a city. I also think many people will agree that you can't exactly stop a hurricane while it's like rampaging and running through a city. You just have to let it run its course until it dies down. But many people will now disagree of how intense and frequent hurricanes have become thanks to climate change. Now, I'm no meteorologist or an expert on the formation of hurricanes. I feel that many people have very strong opinions about it, even though they themselves are not experts on the weather and hurricane formation and are only good at Googling things that fit their perspectives. But hurricanes are formed based on some scientific process. I'll leave a link that simply explains the formation of hurricanes in the video description if you're interested like I was. But the overall takeaway point is that warm, moist air and warm ocean water generates hurricanes. Now with climate change, or global warming if you still want to call it that, the ocean is getting warmer. So, what did I just say a few seconds ago? Warm ocean waters generates hurricanes. Okay, so we know that. If the ocean continues to get warmer, then we know that it's just gonna keep generating hurricanes, especially during the summer season, like from July to November. Sorry if it sounds like I'm explaining this to a 5-year-old, but I think it's necessary for people who are skeptical or just don't understand. Now that we understand the formation of hurricanes and why increasingly warm oceans are bad, let's talk about climate change. It's not your fault. Individually, no, it's not your fault. It's not my fault. I'm doing what I can to recycle and preserve the environment, but my efforts and your efforts are just a tiny drop in comparison to the entire impact of all of humanity. Lots of carbon dioxide in the air means we're just trapping heat in our little Earth's atmosphere, which eventually does warm the ocean. And now we're starting to see the results. More frequent and stronger hurricanes, and it's only gonna get worse. The bad thing is that people are suffering now because of the inactions of all of humanity. We know what's going on, I just don't know why we're not doing anything to address this. So Florida residents are getting wrecked, and as evil as it sounds, you may be watching this and say, yeah, some people deserve a taste of their own medicine. They don't believe in climate change, so good for them. I hope that hurricane affects them. But unfortunately, that's not how it works. You might get a handful of people who are getting affected and will still stick to their disbeliefs, but you also get a handful of people who are innocent, who do believe in climate change and are trying their best to mitigate its effects and educate their neighbors, but they're still getting affected. Bad things happen to good people just as much as good things happen to bad people. It's not exactly fair to distribute all the pain just to one selective group. We're all living on this earth together. You cannot specifically choose your enemies. Climate change doesn't care whether or not you believe in it or not. Doesn't care whether or not you are doing anything about it. Doesn't care about your beliefs. We're all gonna get affected by it. And so what I'm trying to say is that even though Florida is getting affected, me who's living in California, I will also somehow indirectly get affected by this. I work in environmental engineering, so I do believe in climate change. There are some other people who are not in this field who don't believe in it, and that's fine. But regardless of whether or not you believe in it, or you think it's man-made or natural or whatever, we're both gonna feel the pain. So I really just hope that in the future, we are all addressing this type of issue. Whether or not I'm actually going to the flooding and going to the winds, I hope that we can work together and actually address this. And hurricanes is just one aspect of it. There are other things like eventually flooding somewhere else, extreme heat waves, droughts. I'm going to be going through some California droughts while Florida's going to be going through some flooding. There's no need to point fingers. We just have to address this issue. It doesn't matter who's right or who's wrong. We all know in the end that we're all going to get affected. I just hope that we're open-minded to at least understand the facts, that some people are sort of, closed-minded, that they won't accept any sort of solution or any reason besides just sticking to their beliefs. Some people are so convinced of their own beliefs that they aren't willing to look at anything else. There's no need to lie about it or, again, convince yourself of some inaccurate fact that, climate change is their fault or not. This is completely off script. I don't even know where I'm going with this, but I just hope that climate change will be addressed in the future. I don't want to see any more suffering just because we're always going to be pointing fingers and blaming one side or the other, whether you're a Democrat or Republican or sort of political whatever. I don't really know why we have to make this politicized. We know what's happening, so why can't we all just come together and fix it? It really does not matter who's right or who's wrong. We know the outcome. The outcome is just going to be more destruction in the end. I'd rather focus all the attention on preparation and fixing the outcome rather than finding the right or wrong argument. Like in a car accident, for example, it doesn't matter if you want to be right or if you have road rage. In the end, you can be right, but you might be dead. It's not worth it. I hope whoever's watching this is okay, whether you are in California just not dealing with the hurricane, or if you're in Florida, I hope everything is safe with you. That's it for this video. Goodbye.